I don't know if I can follow up either that rousing speech or that very kind introduction. I will say one thing. I believe, so I'm not only an alum of the University of Iowa, I'm an alum of the Iowa labor movement. I was involved in organizing UE 896 COGS, and I believe, and Jen can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm getting old, so my memory might be faulty, but I believe I recruited Jen to the union when she started at Iowa, so.
First week.
That's right, because that's how you do it. So I just wanted to thank you all for inviting me here. I'm really happy to be here. And you know, I want to spend a few minutes talking about a couple different things. First, about why unions in higher ed matter and what unions in higher ed are about. And then I want to turn a little bit, and as Joe mentioned, I was in Wisconsin for 5.5 years and was there through the Act 10 fight when the public employees there lost collective bargaining rights. And I've been following what's happened to education there in the aftermath of that event. So I wanted to share with you all some insights from that. Before turning to all that, though, I do want to say on behalf of my colleagues in the leadership of the National AAUP, we are with you in this fight. This is an important fight. As Joe said, this matters greatly to our members and to members of the labor movement in general, but certainly to members of AAUP. What you're fighting for here matters to all of us, and we are with you. That is what solidarity is, and we will have your back. So, I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on this, but AAUP approaches collective bargaining a little bit different than some other organizations do. We really started as the organization to safeguard academic freedom, shared governance, and the economic security of the profession. And that's what we really focus on whenever we're organizing faculty collectively, whether it's in a collective bargaining situation in a union like you have here, or in some of those states that aren't as fortunate as Iowa and don't have collective bargaining. We see these as core values in higher education because they are about protecting the quality of education. They are also about safeguarding democracy, and I'll talk about that in a little bit too. But American higher education remains the envy of the world, right? Iowa's the jewel in the crown there if you think of the history of K-12 public education and the higher education here. But American higher education, envy of the world. People come here to get higher education. This is no accident. It's directly linked to the way we have organized higher education in this country, right? It's directly linked to the fact that our system of higher education ensures freedom of inquiry. It's a place where faculty and administration work together in partnership through what's called shared governance. And it is also a place where we safeguard the freedom of students to learn. When faculty have this freedom, the freedom to teach and to research, and students have the freedom to learn, and when faculty and administrations and governing boards are able to partner in decision-making at the institution, educational quality is improved. It's just a fact. Joe touched on this a little bit when he talked about the turnover in administrations here. We like to say AAUP likes to say faculty are stewards of the institution, partially because faculty have long-term careers at their institutions. They make a commitment. They're there for the students. They're there for the institution. And we really see that as why faculty need a voice in the workplace. This is not just the opinion of a card-carrying radical from the AAUP. It is a consensus opinion shared by the Association of Governing Boards, which is the body that represents boards of regents around the country. And it's a consensus opinion shared by the American Associations of Colleges and Universities, which is a large organization that a lot of probably administrators here belong to. So these are really shared values in higher education. They're not just shared among faculty, They're shared by administrations, they're shared by governing boards. The reason I think the reason this sort of shared sense of what higher education is has existed for so long is that everybody recognizes it comes out of a commitment to serving the students and the public as a whole. And it really gets at I think that shared commitment really gets at the heart of why faculty come together to form unions. So before becoming AAUP's executive director, I worked as a faculty organizer all over the country. I started organizing when I was a grad employee at Iowa, like I said, recruited Jen. And then I spent, which makes me feel old to say this, but I spent about 20 years organizing faculty then after that. I have never once, well, first of all, I've never lost an election, so I think I know what I'm talking about, but I have never once had a faculty group tell me they want to organize over pay. Faculty, that sometimes pay is a symptom of something else, but every campaign I've ever worked on has always been about how can faculty best serve the students? How can faculty best partner with the administration and ensure the quality of the institution? That is why faculty unionize. It goes to the heart of why faculty are faculty. It's really about service to the students. I think I spent a little bit of time looking at the contract here, the UNI AAUP contract, and this contract reflects this, right? Contracts are joint agreements. People will say like, oh, the union contract. It is not the union contract. It's a collective agreement between the employer and the union, right? These are consensus documents, and they really represent the product of an administration and a faculty coming to an agreement about what are our shared values, what are our rules of the road, what do we envision together about this institution. That is what a collective bargaining agreement is. And when you look at the collective bargaining agreement here, and then you look at some of the work that's been achieved under the umbrella of that agreement, you see that reflected in this chapter's history. This chapter has a proud history of defending academic freedom on campus and of defending shared governance. This chapter has a proud history of fighting for pay equity, which is a very, very important battle, and of developing a fair and equitable system for sick leave and family medical leave. These are important things, right? And they're not just financial, they're about the quality of the institution. Research, just bear with me, I've come out of academia, so I have to back everything up with research. So I just want to say this isn't just me speaking, research bears this out. Ron Ehrenberg of Cornell University's Industrial Labor Relations program shows in numerous essays, most recently I think 2011, faculty unionization does not necessarily correlate to higher salaries overall, but it does correlate to a fairer distribution of salary monies. And actually there was a study by a gentleman at Iowa State in 2010 that basically says the same thing. It also correlates to fair, clearer processes for settling workplace disputes. And that's a system that benefits both the administration and the faculty, right? If you have a nice, orderly system for settling workplace disputes, not everything's turning into a lawsuit. And it correlates to better work-family policies in higher ed. And that relates to faculty retention. There's a 1994 article by a gentleman named Daniel Reese called Does Unionization Increase Faculty Retention? And he finds that it does, specifically at the associate and full professor level. So these are the kinds of benefits that the contract has, and these are really benefits about serving the students. Retaining faculty, being able to recruit and retain faculty is about serving the students. It's about providing a really high quality education. So that's the framework here. I want to step back for a few minutes and just talk a bit about what I observed in Wisconsin when collective bargaining rights there were rolled back, and how it's over the past few years affected the education system there. You know, obviously it's hard to draw parallels. It's a different legislative system, you know, it's not the same, it's not Iowa, obviously, it's a different state. But I think there are some lessons we can learn from what happened there. And one of the lessons we can learn is, and most of these come out of K-12, more turnover, less ability to recruit and retain high quality faculty, and it actually has turned out to be a little more expensive. The K-12 what's happened in K-12 there, and we've seen it in the UW system as well, some districts are winners, some are losers. When teachers couldn't depend on consistency, the consistency that the union contract offered, they started shopping around. It became a free market, right? There's even been an article written about how teachers became free agents in this environment. There's about a 25% turnover per year in most school districts in Wisconsin now. And if you want to talk about how do you manage K-12 education when a quarter of your workforce is turning over every year, that's a challenge. Wealthy districts, places like Neenah, if you're familiar with Neenah, where they could afford it, are now having to pay about $20,000 to $25,000 in signing bonuses to attract teachers to their districts. So they're able to recruit and retain good teachers. Smaller, more rural districts that don't have those kinds of coffers have suffered. They've had a hard time keeping teachers. They've had a hard time recruiting teachers, you know, good quality teachers. This has really created a system of haves and have-nots in K-12 public K-12 education in Wisconsin. That's not something I think you want here. A similar dynamic has played out in the University of Wisconsin system. It's a little bit harder to measure just because of how the system is set up, but what we've seen is that faculty who can retire early do. A lot of faculty have been recruited to other states where there's more support. A lot of Badgers are Gophers now, I know that. We've also seen that it's not been a money saver in higher education either. For instance, at the UW-Madison last year, on top of their pay, you know, on top of their salary package, they had to pay almost $9 million to retain 30 faculty who were looking at leaving. That is not a cost savings to that system. That was what they had to do to keep these people. So that's something that was, you know, a challenge there. Madison's a little different than the four-year comprehensives because it's the big flagship, they have a lot of research money. What they saw at the smaller four-year comprehensives, there's 12 of those in Wisconsin, was those institutions were just losing faculty. They didn't have the resources to keep them. This ultimately is affecting the quality of education there. When you're talking about a four-year comprehensive institution, if you start losing one or two faculty from a program, you're talking about certain courses or specialties not being offered anymore. You're talking about time to degree stretching out, students not being able to get through in 4 years. I was talking to some folks in the UW a few months ago, and they were saying it was taking students on average in certain majors, mainly in like the STEM majors, 6 to 7 years to complete their BA at the comprehensives because of the attrition of faculty. That, you know, that is just an untenable situation. Again, the losers in this scenario are the smaller institutions, the ones that, you know, don't have the non-flagships. So these are things you all need to be thinking about as you're talking to your legislators, talking to your friends, talking to your community members about what's going on with Chapter 20, why this matters. It's up here, I see that. At AAUP, we often say that faculty working conditions are student learning conditions. I guess we say it here too, this is great. You know, this is what we're finding. What the taxpayers want and what they deserve are strong, well-run public institutions that serve them and their children. Unions like the one here have an important role to play in ensuring that quality of education. It's not just about the faculty, it's about the quality of the education the students get. And, you know, this is my call to action to you all. Stand together as a campus community, work together to preserve union rights for all public employees, when speaking to legislators, some of whom are here, and other thought leaders, make sure they understand the important role that the chapter plays in the campus community and in ensuring the quality education, and ensuring time to degree, and ensuring that majors are being offered that fit the changing workforce. This is what faculty do every day. This is what faculty do for the citizens of the state. That, we need to make sure folks understand that, and they understand that the union is an essential piece of that. I guess that's really all I want to say about that. I'm happy to answer questions later. I definitely want to leave time for the other speakers. The only other thing I would say, if you are here and you are a faculty member on this campus and you haven't joined your union yet, join your union and support your colleagues in this fight. If you are a member, show up and get involved. And I'll say again, AAUP, we stand behind you. I'm here. Any of our national leaders will come out at any point and help in this fight. We want you to be successful because we know your success is about the success of higher education. Thank you very much.